Hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. Hope you're having a great day. Today, we have edition number 26 of our ongoing coverage of the Capitol rioters by way of Mr. Michael Joseph Foy. Mr. Foy has entered the party, and we're going to learn about some of the misdeeds of Mr. Foy and what prizes he might win for his participation in the Capitol riots. So let's read the arrest warrant. See what we're looking at. Let's get started with this. On or about January the 10th of 2021, the FBI received a tip on its official Twitter account. The tip provided a single image or photograph of a man carrying a hockey stick. The exact tweet stated, "This is the man that killed the police officer. He hit him with a hockey stick over and over in the head." This tip has not been corroborated or confirmed by law enforcement. Additionally, the FBI has no evidence that the suspect has killed a police officer. We nevertheless include this fact to explain the investigative steps that were subsequently taken. Okay, so we have someone who says that this is a guy who was beating up an officer and the officer died. Now, that may or may not be true, because, as I'm sure we can all appreciate, the events of the day were somewhat chaotic. And so what can we prove objectively and what can't we prove objectively? Up to this point, we've been proving things that are fairly objectively provable. We've been looking to cell phone footage. We've been looking to footage from the surveillance cameras. We've been looking to social media posts, mostly posted by the people involved. We've been looking for statements from the people involved to the FBI or to friends, right? So things that have a more objective reality. This is a potential witness who says this is a guy who may be involved in the killing of the police officer. So that may or may not be true, and because we don't know yet. But it does give the FBI motivation to look into it. All right, so let's figure out what the FBI thinks might be true based on what they know up to this point. On or about January the 15th of 2021, the FBI conducted an open source research for an individual matching the tip provided photograph. Several additional photographs were identified from various online sources, such as people's social media posts and videos from the day. These photographs indicate that the same individual carrying a hockey stick had been present both inside and outside the Capitol. And so then we have this guy with the hat. We got some nice little arrows pointed at various things to prove it's the same guy. So we got the guy and various things, various logos that we're relying on to say that this is the same guy in these various pictures. Fantastic find. And we got some more photographs and more images of the day involved, just to show what's going on, and more pictures of the miscreant here, front and center on this bottom right one and bottom left one. It's a little bit hard to see him looking out the window, but that's our boy, Mr. Foy. America's Finest says what they'll never tell you was Antifa who stormed the Capitol. Maybe it was. I don't really care either way. Maybe it was Antifa who stormed the Capitol. I don't really care either way. It's fine by me. If it's Antifa, then that's great. Let's prosecute them. On or about January the 16th of 2021, the FBI identified a video from an online New York Times article found at the various site. The video depicts an individual wearing the exact same clothing as the individual above, bearing a hockey stick. In the video, the individual aggressively swings the hockey stick at an individual lying on the ground. So now we have this guy with the hockey stick, who we believe to be the same guy, who's swinging his hockey stick at somebody on the ground. Okay, that's problematic. The article indicates that the video footage was taken during the attack of law enforcement officers. Specifically, the video shows a large crowd of individuals gathered around the entrance to the U.S. Capitol. It further shows the man with a hockey stick lifting the stick above his head and swinging it down rapidly, striking an individual on the ground several times. At no point does it appear that the individual on the ground is acting aggressively, nor does it appear that the attack is justified. That's a typo. It says unjustified, but they mean is justified. So basically they're saying, it doesn't appear to be an act of self-defense. It appears that he's striking this guy on the ground who's helpless. They don't see the guy on the ground fighting him. So it appears that this guy is just wailing on this guy for nothing going on whatsoever. Yeah. America's Finest says no evidence whatsoever, and only a random person's word's not going to cut it. I agree, America's Finest. I agree. I think I kind of said that already, didn't I? I said that. It's like, yeah, right. I made a point of that in the introduction. How is this not clear? It's like a lot of things we've been working from have been fairly objective, and all we have is this one guy, and it may or may not be true. America's Finest says a random person's word's not going to cut it. Right. I don't disagree. I thought it was fairly clear earlier that a random person's word wouldn't cut it. We would need a lot more. Or we need the random person to have a much clearer view of what's going on. So, I don't know what you're rebutting me against. Based on further investigation, the FBI was able to determine that the individual identified above was Michael Joseph Foy, the son of Joseph Foy. Specifically, on or about January the 19th of 2021, the FBI discovered a Facebook account for Joseph Foy from Detroit, Michigan, currently residing in Michigan. Oh, good. We have a new state for our map. We have a Michigan. Fill that in later. I reviewed the driver's license photo for Joseph, and it matches photographs posted on the Facebook accounts. Additionally, Joseph's current address is listed in Westland, Michigan. Joseph's Facebook page also contains a post dated on the 6th, and the post has a photograph of a male, dressed in the same clothing and carrying a hockey stick, with a Trump flag draped from it, similar to that carried by the male in the aforementioned video and photos. The man is wrapped in an American flag and standing in front of the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. A commenter from another Facebook user asked, was he the guy sitting in Nancy Pelosi's chair? Joseph replied he was raised better, suggesting that Joseph could be self-identifying as the man's father. Okay. Another post on Joseph's Facebook page, dated November the 10th, 2020, indicates that Joseph changed his profile photos to that of a male, draped in an American flag and wearing a Marine Corps veteran's hat, similar to that depicted in the photographs from above. So he's wearing a similar looking hat. So maybe it's the same guy. It's a context clue, right? We're on his Facebook page of this guy, Joseph. We know his name is Michael Joseph, and he's wearing a very similar hat. So maybe it's the same guy. Could be. In several comments, Joseph refers to the man in the photograph as his son. Additionally, another Facebook user states, after stating it thanks all for having served in the military, makes the following comment. Michael Foy, thank you. Maybe the photograph is of Michael Foy. Law enforcement was able to determine that an individual depicted above with the American flag and military hat was, in fact, the son of Joseph, named Michael Joseph Foy. So we're looking at Joseph Foy's, the father's page, and photos of Michael that was tagged on his page. So that's why we're mentioning the father, because of this context. The FBI further found online a photograph of Foy participating in a November the 6th, 2020 political rally for Trump. As seen below, the photograph of Foy from his father's Facebook page and the photograph of Foy at the rally appear to be consistent. The photograph names the individual as Michael Foy. So we have two different individuals, and they are wearing similar clothing, similar hat. They're draped with a similar flag, and they both are titled as Michael Foy. So maybe they're the same person. A reasonable conclusion so far. Additionally, I've reviewed a driver's license photo from Foy, and it's consistent with an individual depicted in both Joseph's Facebook posts, as well as a man seen attacking law enforcement in photographs and video captured on the 6th. So now we're saying that we have other photo and video, which we apparently have not seen yet, is so far in this complaint, but we do have other video footage that is suggestive that Foy was attacking law enforcement, because we have seen this individual depicted in these Facebook posts, who has been labeled as Joseph Michael Foy, as also a person who was attacking law enforcement. So maybe that's also Joseph Michael Foy, the guy who was attacking law enforcement. On January the 17th of 2021, the FBI also identified a YouTube video entitled, "I Can't Breathe," on the steps. The storm arrived, part 9. Couldn't speak to parts 1 through 8, that's on your own time. Posted by a user named The Black Conservative Preacher. This video shows another angle of the attack on law enforcement at the United States Capitol on January the 6th of 2021. Specifically, at timestamp 1 minute into the video, Foy begins striking a group of Metropolitan Police officer assisting in the protection of the U.S. Capitol, who's been knocked down and is dragged out into a crowd of rioters. So now we have video of him apparently attacking an MPD officer and assisting in the assault of him. The attack continues for approximately 16 minutes, or 16 seconds, until Foy is knocked down by another rioter. At that time, Foy circles back through the crowd, lowers his hood, which reveals a clear image of his face. So we couldn't see him really earlier very well because his face was not visible to us. But fortunately, at some point later, he lowered his hood, and we're like, aha, that looks like the guy, Michael Foy, who we believe to be Michael Foy, from his father's Facebook page and the images of him and also the news reports of him. We think that this might be Michael Foy, this guy who appears to be striking a Metropolitan Police Department officer. Interesting. And he's assaulting him with a hockey stick. We're assaulting a police officer with a hockey stick. Assault with a deadly weapon. Aggravated assaults. Depending on what we feel like charging and what we can prove, attempted murder, question mark. Murder, question mark. We're at least asking those questions. But we've got aggravated assault for sure without blinking an eye. Assault with a deadly weapon without blinking an eye. We can also ask more interesting questions. At timestamp 1 minute and 26 seconds, Foy raises his hockey stick above his head in celebration and begins shouting. The words are indistinguishable from other crowd noises. At 3 minutes and 45 seconds, Foy begins motioning and shouting, as if to other individuals in the crowd, and appears to be saying, "Let's go," while pointed at the United States Capitol building. At 3 minutes and 59 seconds, Foy is seen crawling through a broken window into the Capitol to prove that he got in there. So based on the foregoing, so far we have disorderly conduct, we have obstruction, and we have trespass. And then interfering with official proceedings. So that is the story of Mr. Foy so far to date. So we have some information that seems to strongly suggest that Mr. Foy was present from the photographs and the videos. We know it's Mr. Foy from looking at his driver's license photo, also from his father's Facebook page, also because he's wearing the same clothing and same hats. It seems like it's Mr. Foy. Also, we got a clear image of his face after he was beating the police officer with a hockey stick. Also, we saw him crawling into the building on video. So, the trespassing and disorderly conduct and disruption of official proceedings, I guarantee you, is in absolutely no sense where this is going to end. So I don't know if this officer he struck was the same officer who died, right? They're being a little bit vague about that. So I'm not going to assume what I don't know. They're being a little bit vague about who the officer was. Maybe there was more than one officer who was struck with hockey sticks. I don't know. Seems plausible. So we have a Metropolitan Police Department officer who we know that he's striking with a hockey stick. We don't know. We're not sure exactly which one. But if it's the officer who died, well, my friends, we're looking at murder charges. You were part of the you were a but-for cause. You were a but-for cause of his eventual death. And of course it's murder of a law enforcement officer. So we're looking at capital charges. How exciting. We're looking at potential death penalty level charges. So that's super exciting, depending on what we can and cannot prove down the line. And the FBI went to some pains to say, well, we're not convinced yet that he was involved in the murder. So, the FBI is taking its time, as they should. They're not involved yet. They're not sure yet. But it's like, yeah, we have some clues that might be true. We're not sure. Fair enough, they're not sure. And we're also, at least you and I, we're not sure which officer they struck. We're not even sure it's the same officer who died, because they weren't clear about that. But if we assume it's the same officer who died, and we assume that he struck that officer with a hockey stick, and the hockey stick was at least partially responsible for the reason the officer died, then, ipso facto, going to the end of the page conclusion, murder. Now, of course, he's not necessarily the only one who would be charged with murder. I suspect there will be a whole bunch of people who will be charged with murder. There'll be a whole conflagration of people charged with murder. So, there's that, but depending on what the FBI is able to prove down the line, depending on what other witnesses will be able to say, depending on other video and other footage that's available, right? We're not there. We're definitely not there. But we're thinking about it. So maybe. And at a bare minimum, even if none of that, at a bare minimum, we still have assault with deadly weapon and aggravated assault on an officer without blinking an eye. So even if we can't get to murder, even if we can't get to felony murder, we have aggravated assault and assault with a deadly weapon against an officer without blinking an eye. So there's that. So, it's not going to end well for Mr. Foy is basically the short end of that stick, to use precisely the right word if you get my drift. Anywho, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Capitol Hill Rioters. If you're enjoying this series, please remember to give it a like. If you're not subscribed already, please remember to subscribe, and you can hit the join button to help support the channel. Oh, I forgot to color in Michigan. So let's color in the Michigan and show the map. And I have to also color in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. I won't leave our Michiganders behind. I don't want the Upper Peninsula people to feel unhappy. So we'll color in the Upper Peninsula too. Okay, here's our updated map. There you go. There's your updated map with Michigan now colored in. How exciting. Our list of states continues to grow. Is this federal level? Hell yes. This is all federal level charges, yeah. This is all federal level. This will all be tried by the U.S. Attorney. So, we'll see. So, anyways, I hope you enjoyed this series. Until later, my friends. Cheers and goodbye.